Sweet Tooth Volume 3 Animal Armies, written and art by Lemire. Hello everyone. For those of you that follow my channel pretty closely, you know I ran into an issue recently where I had to take down a series of videos I did on Invincible. And in light of that, I'm thinking of changing up the format of my channel, maybe going to a different style of video. We'll see. I'm debating what I'm going to do. But I'm going to be taking a break for the next few weeks while I figure that all out. But before I go on that break, I wanted to at least publish this video because it was basically already done. And I gotta say, it's a banger of a video. This volume is really cool. There's lots of action. There's a big war that goes down, and it's going to be a really good time. So let's dive into Sweet Tooth Volume 3, Animal Armies. Issue 12, The Singh Tapes. This issue is telling two stories in parallel. Dr. Singh is narrating the history of the virus into a tape recorder. He is talking about how when the virus hit, it all happened so fast. There were mass graves everywhere, people burning bodies. Everything collapsed. The government, police, and military all merged into one cruel new militia. Instead of protecting and helping people, this new militia group began to assert their power. They swept through cities and hoarded supplies like gasoline, medicine, weapons, and food, while everyone else was left with nothing and had to scavenge for what they could get. Eventually, Dr. Singh's wife and daughter succumbed to the virus as well and died. Dr. Singh, with nothing left to lose, went to the militia camp to offer up his skills as a doctor to them. As a man of science and medicine, he knew his skills would be wanted, and he would be taken care of. Dr. Singh found it ironic he didn't have the proper qualifications to practice medicine in the US, despite being trained and certified in the finest schools in India. He was accepted into the militia camps to research the disease and try to find answers and make sense of it all. But then, as he was working away, the hybrids were born, the single most important development in the history of science, and the hybrids were immune to the disease. And now, Dr. Singh found Gus, and now he feels with Gus there is hope for the world. Hope for possible answers. However, he worries, what if Gus is not the solution? What if Gus is the problem? And what if Gus caused the plague? Now, the other story we go through in this issue is that we experience a day in the life of Gus at this militia camp. Gus, he was brought into the militia's base underground in an elevator, and he was brought to Johnny to the showers, and Gus is forced to strip naked and is hosed down. After Johnny finished hosing down Gus and cleaning him up, Johnny gave Gus a chocolate bar to help lift Gus's spirits. And then Johnny led Gus down some halls to the kennel room, where Gus was thrown into a kennel. At first, Gus was scared, but he soon realized that he was reunited with the other hybrid children he met earlier, Wendy and Bobby. And Gus was happy to see his friends again, and they hug, and Gus shares his candy bar with them, and they all fall asleep together in the safety of the kennel. Issue 13, Animal Armies Part 1 of 5. Jepperd is traveling down the highway with Lucy and Becky. They have decided to assist Jepperd on his mission. As they are driving, Becky, bored in the back seat, wants to play a game. She suggests I spy. She begins, I spy with my little eye something that is dead. She sees a family of corpses on the side of the road. Her game is kind of a failure, and she is met with silence. Eventually, the three of them are forced to exit the car as a tunnel is blocked with crashed abandoned vehicles. We jump back over to Gus. He is having a trippy bad dream. He is in a snowy landscape, and he sees an adult version of himself with a scar over his eye, protecting a younger version of himself. The adult Gus says, "Not yet." Gus wakes up, and we are left wondering, what did that dream mean? Perhaps a foreshadowing of something? Anyway, Wendy is there to console Gus on his bad dream. Wendy asks Gus, "We're never getting out of here, are we?" And Gus replies, "Yes, we is. We is. No matter what, we're gonna get out of this place. And we're gonna go back to the woods and to the cabin where I grew up. And we're gonna be safe and happy there. And we ain't never gonna have to worry about these bad men again." Just then, Johnny enters the room, bringing the other hybrid child named Buddy with him. Jumping back over to Jepperd, Lucy, and Becky. They have entered the city. Becky says, "This is stupid. Everyone knows you don't go into the city." Jepperd thinks they are being watched. Lucy tells Jepperd, "Of course we're being watched. You know who lives here. You know what they're gonna do to us. Can't believe you talked me into this shit." Jepperd says, "It's okay. I got a plan." We see cultist members surrounding them in every direction. We jump over to Abbott and Dr. Singh. They arrive in a helicopter in the woods of Nebraska, and they are heading to Gus's family home. Dr. Singh thinks that this is where he is going to save the world. They walk through the woods and pass by the graves of Gus's mother and father. And then they finally see the cabin they've heard so much about. Dr. Singh comments to Abbott, "It's just how I imagined." Back over to Johnny in the militia facility. He let the hybrid kids out of their cages, and he is talking with them. Johnny, he seems like a good guy. He's just a good guy stuck in a hard situation, stuck working for a bunch of bad people. Johnny tells the kids that he was told to bring Buddy down here, and he thinks it's a good thing to do because Buddy was getting awfully lonely upstairs. He says, "Ain't that right, Buddy?" Buddy doesn't answer though. Johnny explains to the rest of the kids that Buddy isn't much of a talker. You know, we call him Buddy because it started out when I was like, "Hey Buddy, how you doing, Buddy?" And his name kind of just stuck. Gus asks where Buddy came from. Johnny explains that Buddy was one of the first ones born here. All of a sudden, some soldiers walk in, and they see Johnny and the hybrid kids out of their cages, and they ask Johnny, "Johnny, what the F, man?" Johnny tells the other soldiers to relax. He was just talking to the kids, no big deal. And the soldiers tell Johnny to shut the hell up, and they punch him in the face. And Johnny tells them to stop or Abbott will, and the soldiers cut Johnny off and say, "Or Abbott will what? Save you? Even he's sick of your shit by now, retard. You think because Abbott is away you can do whatever the hell you want, asshole? You got those kids out of their cages and everything. They ain't your little pets to cuddle and play with, for Christ's sake, Johnny." The other soldier talking to Johnny says, "You need a little demonstration of how we treat these things around here." The soldier then grabs Gus and gives him a big punch to Gus's face. Then the soldier tells Johnny to put these animals back in their cages or they'll kill one of them. Johnny tells the kids he's so sorry, and Gus with a swollen eye tells Johnny, "Just leave us alone." Johnny leaves the hybrid animals and returns to his room later that night, and he is looking at an old photograph of him and his brother, Douglas Abbott, back in their early days, back when they were happy. And Johnny comments to himself, "What happened to us?" Back to Jepperd. He is being confronted at knife point by various cultists. These animal hybrid cultists run the cities. Jepperd, trying to defuse the situation, trying to calm Becky and Lucy, says, "Hold on, just relax. It's fine, they ain't gonna hurt us." And the cultist says, "Oh, we're not? are we? What makes you so sure, big man? Why don't we just slit you open like a pig right here and take your women? Ain't anyone told you not to come here? This is our city now. Jepperd explains he wants to make a deal. He knows a place that these cultists can get tons of hybrids, lots of them. The cultist tells Jepperd, bullshit. And Jepperd replies, not bullshit. I know where they keep them. The militia. We both been there, referring to him and Lucy. And the cultist says, no one gets away from the militia. Lucy lifts up her shirt to reveal the scars from the surgery they did on her to remove her child. The cultist seems intrigued. Jepperd asks to be taken to their leader to talk some more. So Jepperd and the ladies are brought to a place in the city called Sal's Butcher Shop. There they are ushered inside, and there they meet a man named Glebhelm. He is the leader of the cultist, otherwise known as the Animal Armies. And Glebhelm says, welcome, my friends, hungry? And we see this Glebhelm has 5 vicious dog-animal hybrid children around him, and he has them on a chain leash. Issue 14, Animal Armies Part 2. So back at the militia camp, Gus and the animals are down in their kennels, and Bobby is worried that Gus is mad at him. Gus tells Bobby of course he's not mad at Bobby, but Gus just wishes that he never left the woods, and he's feeling down about that. And Bobby tells Gus, Bobby am glad you am here. Bobby am feel happy with Gus. Just then, Johnny enters the room. Gus tells Johnny to leave. He doesn't want any more trouble to be caused. But Johnny is here to help Gus and the others. He tells Gus, we're leaving, all of us, but we have to go right now. Johnny lets the kids out of their cages once again, and he leads them down a hall to a pump where wastewater is pumped out of the facility. He tells the kids, this leads downriver to a valley. It's the only way out of here other than the front gate. He gives Gus a bag with some food and some warmer clothes, and he tells them that they should be safe on the other side for the night. Wendy asks Johnny, well, what about him? And Johnny says he's got to get a few things taken care of first, but he'll meet the kids in the morning, and together they will all get away from here, far away. So, the kids, not seeing any other option, they get into the pipe and begin to crawl onward to freedom. Johnny tells them, crawl until you see light, and whatever you do, don't turn back. So Gus, he leads the kids, and he's reassuring them, saying, it's gonna be okay, I promise. Just follow me and stay close. We jump back over to the city, to Jepperd and Glebhelm talking. Glebhelm says to Jepperd, my boys don't seem to like you very much, Mr. Jepperd, referring to his hybrid dogs. And Jepperd says, feelings mutual. Glebhelm replies, watch what ya say about my boys, Jepperd, or I'll feed them your tongue. Now, what exactly are you doing here in my city? And Jepperd replies, I told ya, we know where the main militia camp is. They got dozens of hybrids inside. We're heading there, but it'll take an army to get inside. Glebhelm to this says, and you think my followers and I will be that army? That's very interesting, but I'm not going to risk everything we've built here just for you. Jepperd's counterpoint to this is, and what exactly is it you think you have here? All I see is a bunch of freaks in masks waiting to die like the rest of us. Glebhelm responds, I don't expect you to understand our faith, Mr. Jepperd. My boys and their kind are no mere anomaly of nature. They are here to show us the way out of all the pain and sickness to salvation. And Jepperd to this says, save the bullshit for your moonies. I don't know what the fuck it is you people do with them, and I don't want to know. point is, I know where you can find a lot of them. We've been there and we've got some unfinished business. So drop the crap and gather your men. Glebhelm, a little bit insulted, says, "Don't presume you know anything about us, Mr. Jepperd." But as he's thinking it over, Glebhelm feels that Jepperd's got a point. He tells his soldier behind him, "Gather the tribes." The soldier asks, "Yes, sir, which ones?" And Glebhelm responds, "All of them." Later on, after some time passes, Jepperd, Lucy, and Becky are near their car on the road, and they are preparing all to head to this militia camp. They all know they can't trust these cultists, but they need an army and they have no choice but to trust them, for now at least. Becky asks Jepperd how he plans to get the kids away from these maniacs if they do manage to get inside the militia camp. After all, Jepperd promised these cultists all of the kids. Jepperd admits he hasn't figured that part of the plan out yet. They hear the animal armies cultists coming down this bridge. They look in the distance and Lucy comments, "Jesus Christ, what have we done?" And we see the animal armies marching in full, and there is definitely an intimidating amount of them. They are riding horses and motorcycles and huge transport trucks. Back to Gus and the kids. They are making their way through the sewer system, and they enter this one big sewer room, and while there, Wendy gets attacked by an alligator hybrid kid. It bites her arm and she is screaming and she's yelling help. Gus picks up a brick and runs over to her, and he smashes the gator with the brick multiple times, killing it. Gus asks Wendy, "Are you okay?" Wendy says it hurts, and Gus, he knows it hurts, but he says they gotta continue on. Now Wendy, she feels bad for the gator that they had to kill. She says he was just a little animal kid like us, probably scared, thought we were gonna hurt him. Back to Jepperd, Lucy, and Becky. They are traveling with the cultist, and they are all taking in camp for the night, and the three of them are sitting around a campfire. They are discussing how insane Glebhelm seems. Becky says, "I know. Did you see how he was with those dog boys? Like he was actually talking to them? It was creepy." Jepperd explains the plan. Once, with the help of the cultist, they managed to break into the militia's camp. Only the three of them know that the main facility with the kids is actually underground. The cultists don't know that. So once they're in, the cultist and the militia will kill each other, and the three of them will slip underground and get the kids out a back exit. Lucy asks, "What if there isn't a back exit?" And Jepperd replies, "Well, then we're screwed." Becky goes out into the woods to pee by herself, and it's just Lucy and Jepperd now for a bit. Lucy tells Jepperd, "If there are any pregnant women there, we're gonna take them with us too." Jepperd, he feels that Becky has been gone for a little bit too long to pee. He feels that something is not right. He goes into the woods to look for her, and he finds Becky and she's fine. But all of a sudden, the both of them hear screams back at the camp. It's Lucy. Jumping back over to Gus and the hybrid kids, they have all made it out of the sewers, and Gus is tending to Wendy's wounds. And Wendy asks Gus when he thinks Johnny will come meet them. Gus doesn't care. He says they are not waiting for Johnny or no one else. They can't trust nobody. Gus wants to lead the kids back to the woods where he grew up. It's the only safe place there is. He feels he never should have left the woods in the first place. His dad warned him never to leave, but he didn't listen. But no matter, what's done is done. Gus is going to go back to where he belongs. Issue 15, Animal Armies Part 3. Gus and the hybrid kids march on. They walk and eventually stop to rest. Wendy asks Gus about the place that they're going to be going to in the woods, and Gus explains, it's the best place in the whole wide world, the safest place too, as long as we stay inside. Gus explains how they're going to make campfires and tell each other stories and build bunk beds, and it's going to be great. Wendy cuddles up beside Gus. Over to Jepperd and Becky. They run back to their campfire, and they see the cultists are attacking Lucy, trying to rape her. Jepperd tells the men to get off of her, but all of a sudden Glebhelm's dog hybrid kids jump up and bite the two cultists off of Lucy and begins to devour them. Jepperd watches in horror as Lucy rejoins Becky and they hug. Glebhelm exclaims, "Good boys, show the people what happens when they don't follow orders, and save some for your brothers, they're hungry too." Glebhelm warns the rest of his men that Jepperd and the ladies are under his protection and they are not to be harmed. We jump over to Dr. Singh. He is now inside Gus's family cabin, and him and his men are searching everywhere for stuff. Singh has found the so-called Bible Gus's dad wrote. Abbott thinks the Bible is utter nonsense, the rantings of a madman, but Dr. Singh is studying it. He thinks of it as more of a map to unseen places. He reads in the Bible, "I cannot bury these secrets like I buried those of my past, like I buried the man I was." So Singh, reading that passage, thinks, the graves are the answer. They'll have what we're looking for. So Dr. Singh gets the men to dig up the graves of Gus's mother and father. Gus's father is indeed where he was buried. Gus buried his dad himself. But in the grave where Gus's mother supposedly is supposed to be, instead there is a metal box. And Singh investigates this metal box, and inside of it he sees an ID card. It is the ID of Gus's father. The ID card reads, Richard Fox, Fort Smith, Anchor Bay, Alaska. Security clearance level E, Science Division. So it appears Gus's dad has a vast history we don't know about. He is more than just a religious crackpot we've only seen him as so far. Back at the militia facility, Johnny overhears the other soldiers talking through a vent, as the soldiers have just discovered the hybrid kids have escaped. The soldiers discuss how they can track the kids through their ID tag, so they still have a chance to retrieve them. The soldiers also want to kill Johnny for letting the kids out in the first place. We see in separate areas, Jepperd and Gus are sleeping for the night at their respective campfires, and they share a similar dream where they are both in Alaska. Jepperd is tracking the deer Dandy and shoots it, and Gus runs over to check on Dandy and sees that Dandy is dead. And Jepperd and Gus, they then see each other in the dream and both wake up startled. So once again, the dream perhaps foreshadowing a little bit about the future. We jump back over to Dr. Singh. He is reading passages from Gus's father's Bible, and he starts to see how oddly accurate the revelations inside the Bible are. In the Bible, Gus's dad wrote, "Listen closely and you will hear it. Listen closely and I will tell you how it ends. The time will come. The sickness will have swept through the world, God's breath on the wind. And the prophet's house will burn to ashes, and the ash will ignite the air, filling the lungs of the sinners, filling their black souls. These things I have seen in my dreams. These are the things I know. These things will happen. But that is not all I know. He tells me of other truths, and as horrible as they are, I must listen. I cannot bury these secrets like I buried those of my past, like I buried the man I was. I will be gone soon, and the boy will be alone in the dark and the cold, surrounded by sin. It is then that a new shepherd will ride out from the hills, but the shepherd is corrupt. He is the white demon, and he leads an army of impostors on 1,000 legs, and they shall ride down on the gates of hell, cracking them apart and setting free the final fires of war on the land. And the boy king shall feel this heat against his soft face, closing in on him, threatening to burn his pure soul forever. But this is not all that tries to take him from God's grace. The black-eyed monster waits in the fire as well. And even the white devil fears this monster. That is how the end will begin. How it finishes, I don't know. I am not the one to write the final page. A new prophet must emerge as well. A new voice in the darkness, calling the boy home, calling him back to where he came from, calling him back to his cold womb in the white desert. But the boy must endure. He is God's final gift to this world, and he must survive at all costs. So reading through all these passages, the prophet referred to is probably Gus's father. The new prophet that must emerge is perhaps Dr. Singh. The white demon or white devil is Jepperd. The army of impostors on 1,000 legs is the cultist animal army. The black-eyed monster is Abbott. And the boy king that must endure, that is God's final gift to the world, that must survive at all costs, is Gus. Dr. Singh, putting it all together, says, Amen. He's starting to become a little bit of a believer in these writings. Issue 16, Animal Armies, Part 4. Some of these soldiers from the militia camp have arrived to catch Gus and the hybrid animal kids. They were following their tracking devices. Gus and the animal kids begin running away. And Gus tells Wendy, "Just keep running, Wendy, keep running." The hybrid kids make it to the highway. They see a transport truck and decide to hide in the back of it. The soldiers eventually figure out where the kids are, though, and they corner them, and they retrieve the kids and place sacks over their heads, and are going to be bringing those kids back to the militia camp. Now, while this is going on, we see Jepperd is talking to the cult leader Glebhelm. Glebhelm tells Jepperd the moment he saw those hybrid kids out there in the world, that was the moment he knew what he was supposed to do. And Jepperd tells Glebhelm, "If you're trying to convert me to your batshit religion, forget it." Glebhelm laughs and tells Jepperd he knows that Jepperd will never be a believer. Glebhelm talks to Jepperd about his own wife and how she wasn't a believer either, and what happened when she gave birth to the 5 dog animal hybrid kids. Glebhelm says, when she gave birth to their first child and saw it, she tried to kill it. Thought she was giving birth to a demon. Of course, we'd heard rumors about animal children being born, but we didn't actually believe it, you know? Her labor was real long, real hard. Hell, I was a tool and die maker before all this. What did I know about delivering a baby? Let alone 5 of them. She was nearly dead by the time the last one came out. I don't know, maybe it was cruel of me, but they were so hungry and we didn't have any food left, so I let them eat her. This kind of shocks Jepperd. This Glebhelm let his dog hybrid kids devour and eat his wife. Glebhelm continues, she gave her life so they could live. And that is how our great faith was born. It was a beautiful day, like today. Jepperd tells Glebhelm, "You're insane." And Glebhelm replies, "No, just awake. Now get ready, it's time." We see Jepperd and Glebhelm and the cultist army have arrived in view of the militia facility. We jump to Dr. Singh. Him and Abbott have arrived back at the militia facility. He is trying to put together the puzzle of all the clues he gathered from Gus's cabin. There's the government ID, some sort of keys to something, maybe to Fort Smith, the lab in Alaska. There's a picture of a pregnant woman that Gus believed to be his mother. There's the Bible. While disturbing, is strangely prophetic. Well, Dr. Singh, he is mulling over all these things and what they mean, when all of a sudden Abbott enters the room and interrupts. He tells Singh the hybrid kids have been returned, they're back. Abbott then goes over to the hybrid kids and begins manhandling Gus. He's asking Gus where his brother Johnny is, as Johnny's been missing ever since the hybrid kids disappeared. Gus doesn't know. All of a sudden, a soldier runs into the room panicked because Jepperd and the animal army have arrived and they are approaching the militia's perimeter. Abbott yells to sound the alarm. He orders Dr. Singh and the animal hybrids to go down into the kennels and hide there until this all passes over. We see outside, Jepperd on horseback is riding along with Glebhelm and his 5 dog animal kids, Lucy and Becky on another horse, other cultists riding on other horses, as well as the transport truck driving at full speed. The battle is about to begin. The militia is in the watchtower, firing down below at the cultist. They also have soldiers on the ground firing machine guns. The animal kids are moved to the kennels to safety. Jepperd and the cultist are charging onward. The cultist transport truck is leading the group and is driving full speed into the militia's fence. As Jepperd is leading the charge, we begin hearing a narration of Jepperd's thoughts. It's gone. Her face is gone. I used to lie awake at night with my eyes closed, trying to go over every detail of her. Thought if I did that, I'd never let myself forget. But memory's cruel. You can remember things that don't matter like they were yesterday, and the harder you try to hold on to it, the faster it goes. I can still see the shape of her, but when I try to remember the details, the curve of her lips, the shape of her eyes, it just fades away. I used to thank God that I never got to see my baby before these bastards took them both from me. I couldn't live with my child's face fading away on me like that too. But now I got another face in my head. Swore I wouldn't let no one else in like that ever again. But the kid did it. He got in. As we ride down on this goddamn place, ready to kill or be killed, I feel something I ain't felt in a long time. Fear. When you ain't got nothing to lose, you ain't got nothing to be scared about. But all that's changed now. I think of Louise. I think of my baby. The baby I'll never know. The baby I'll never hold. Then I think of the kid, Gus. If there's even a chance that he's still alive in there, then it's a chance worth dying for. These men have taken so much from me. I ain't gonna lose him too. The cultist transport truck smashes through the fence, causing a huge opening. The cultist and Jepperd and everyone come charging in. Jepperd, Becky, and Lucy, they break away from the rest of the cultist and head for a shed near the south fence. Jepperd knows that is where the elevator is that goes down below. So they begin heading over to the shed and the elevator and head inside. And Glebhelm, who is leading his men and his dog children in the attack, is telling his men to kill everyone. He then notices Jepperd and the ladies making their way to the shed, and he thinks that's interesting and they're probably up to something, so he begins heading that way himself. We see Gus, the kids, and Dr. Singh are hiding in the kennel room. Red alarm lights are flashing. Gus saw Jepperd on the security cameras earlier, and Gus tells Dr. Singh, "You're all gonna die." Jepperd, Becky, and Lucy make their way down a hall of the militia's underground facility. They start heading towards the incubation rooms in the kennels. But then Abbott arrives to confront them. Abbott calls out, "Jepperd, you really are like a cockroach who just won't die, aren't ya?" Jepperd tells Becky and Lucy to go get the kids. He'll meet up with them when he's done with Abbott. The girls continue onwards, so Jepperd and Abbott, they're squaring off, ready to throw down. Jepperd, he drops his gun and tells Abbott, Drop the gun. Fight me like a man. Abbott, insulting Jepperd, tells him, a man? You're not a man. Don't you know that by now? Men don't let their little babies die. Men don't let their wives die. Jepperd tells Abbott to shut up. Jepperd's eyes angry as all hell. Jepperd attacks Abbott, feeding him punches, and Abbott just lets Jepperd hit him. And Abbott's telling Jepperd, that's it. Let it out. Let all that pain and guilt out. It was your fault. You let her down. You let her down and now she's dead. Jepperd, he's replying, enough, shut up. But Abbott's continuing, she's dead. But there is one thing I lied to you about. Your child. Your baby boy. Your baby boy didn't die. He's still alive. Issue 17, Animal Armies, Part 5 of 5. Jepperd, he can't believe it. He says, you're lying. My kid died along with Louise during childbirth. Everything you say is a lie. And Abbott replies, really? Do you really believe that, Jepperd? You know I'm telling the truth. Deep down under all that pain and guilt, you know it. And Jepperd says, no, no. Abbott then stabs Jepperd in the abdomen with a concealed knife and says, yes. Outside on the surface, the military and the cultists are still attacking each other. Down below, Becky and Lucy are making their way to the kids. Lucy checks to see if there are any women down here pregnant like she was, but the beds are empty, so they continue moving. In the kennel room, Wendy asks Gus if he thinks Jepperd is here to save them. Gus doesn't know. All of a sudden, Lucy and Becky enter the kennel room, and Gus recognizes them. Back to Jepperd and Abbott. Abbott has his boot on Jepperd's head. He tells Jepperd, you think you can just storm in here and take everything I worked to build? Jepperd replies, this is over. Can't you hear that? That's the sound of your little clubhouse falling down around your frickin' head. Abbott replies, I control this place. I control you, Jepperd. It's over when I say it's over. Jepperd manages to muster up some strength and tosses Abbott back, freeing himself from under Abbott's boot. Abbott then asks Jepperd, don't you want to know who it is? Your little freak baby? Where it is? When I'm done with you, I'm gonna gut him. Abbott is interrupted by his little brother Johnny, though. Johnny hits Abbott in the back of the head with the butt of his rifle. And Johnny tells Abbott, no, you ain't gonna hurt no one no more. Back over to Gus. He is reunited with Lucy and Becky. Becky tells Gus they're here with Jepperd to save him. Lucy has some flashbacks to Dr. Singh, who operated on her when she was pregnant. She hates him so much. She really wants to kill Dr. Singh right then and there. But Becky talks Lucy down and tells her, not in front of the kids. Just then, Glebhelm enters the room with his vicious dog hybrid kids, and he quips, yes, not in front of the precious children. Heal, boys, heal. We're gonna take our time with this. Back over to Abbott. He is confronting his brother Johnny, asking him what the hell he is doing. Johnny says that they can't do this anymore. It's over for us. We need to leave these people alone and get away from here and get back to how it used to be, just the two of us. Abbott calls his brother a retard and pulls a knife on him. Johnny tells his brother, please don't. But Abbott continues moving closer to Johnny, ready to stab his brother with the knife. And Johnny has no choice but to fire his gun, and he blasts off 4 of Abbott's fingers. Abbott screams and is forced to retreat and tend to his wounds, so he runs away. Now Johnny says to his brother as his brother's leaving, I'm sorry. Johnny explains to Jepperd, I didn't want to hurt him. Johnny then helps Jepperd walk, And together, Johnny and Jepperd begin heading towards the kennels to where everyone else is. In the kennel room, Dr. Singh is struggling with the key to the back door. Glebhelm and his dogs are closing in. Lucy is firing back with her gun at the dogs. Dr. Singh finally manages to open the door. Now Glebhelm, he releases his dogs, and they begin pouncing and charging towards everyone. The dogs try and jump on Lucy, but she is kicking them back. One of the dogs bites the arm of the hybrid child named Buddy. Lucy and the others are trying to pull Buddy free from the dog's grip. Just then, Jepperd and Johnny enter the kennel room. Jepperd and Gus, they see each other, they recognize each other, they get a little startled. Lucy sees Jepperd, and she tells Jepperd to help her get this Buddy free. Jepperd runs over to Lucy and starts pulling on her, trying to get her into the doorway away from these dogs, away from Glebhelm. They're trying to escape. Jepperd tells Lucy she has to let the child go. There's no choice. Lucy is refusing, and Jepperd yells for her to let go once again. More forcefully, he's yelling now. Lucy starts losing the grip of Buddy, and she lets go, and Jepperd pulls her through the doorway into the next room. Buddy is then bitten by more of the vicious dogs. Buddy, staring at Jepperd, says, "Dad?" And Jepperd to this says, "What?" The door slams shut. Jepperd, he's freaking out about what that kid just said to him. He starts holding Dr. Singh by the collar up to the wall, and he asks him, "What did that kid say? What did he say?" Singh says he doesn't know, and Jepperd calls Singh a liar. Dr. Singh, he comes clean. He tells Jepperd, "That child was your son. We lied. He was born healthy. I'm so sorry." Jepperd, he is still trying to come to terms with this new information, but everyone else is urging Jepperd and the group to continue moving. That door won't hold them all off for long. Jepperd concedes that they are right, and they all take off. We see outside, Abbott has made his way to the surface, and he sees all the dead people around. One of his soldiers says, "The camp is lost, sir. There are only a few of us left. What should we do?" Downstairs, Glebhelm is watching with glee as his dog hybrid kids devour Buddy. He tells his kids to eat. Feel his hybrid blood in your mouths. Let it make you stronger, and then we go after the others. Abbott, he now enters the room where Glebhelm is, and he decides to save Buddy. Abbott fires a warning shot and tells Glebhelm to shut up. Get those things away from him, or I'll kill every one of them and make you watch. Glebhelm, not wanting to see his kids die, pulls them back. Abbott goes over to Buddy and holds him and says, "Poor little thing, what did they do to you?" Glebhelm tells Abbott, "They just left. If you let us, my boys can track them." And Abbott replies, "I don't think so," and as he shoots Glebhelm in the head, killing him. And then Abbott comments, "They're my boys now." So Abbott will now have the 5 dog hybrid kids under his control. Over to Jepperd, Becky, Lucy, Johnny, Dr. Singh, Gus, Wendy, and Bobby. They have all made it safely outside. They exited the camp the same way Gus and the hybrid kids did earlier, through the sewer pipes. Jepperd has gotten all patched up, and they all discuss what their next move is. Lucy, she still wants to kill Dr. Singh right now. But Dr. Singh pleads for his life. He says he knows things about the boy, about Gus, things only he would know. He knows where Gus really came from, and he offers to take them all there. And Jepperd replies, "Nice try, old man. I already been there. Where do you think I found him in the first place?" And Dr. Singh explains, "No, I mean where he really came from, before the woods." Gus to this says, It's snowy there, isn't it? I think I dreamt of the place." Dr. Singh explains further, Yes, Gus, it's called Alaska. It's very far north, but I do believe that that is where you came from, and if we can get there, we might be able to figure out why everyone got sick. Gus to this says, well, if that's where my mommy and daddy came from, that's where I want to go. Becky throws her 2 cents in and adds, it's not like we have anywhere else to go. And Jepperd, he's on board with the plan. He says, alright, north it is. And with that, Volume 3 comes to an end. They will all head north to Alaska and see if answers await them there. Okay, so that was Volume 3, and there was some really cool stuff in this volume. I like that we got the explanation of who the cultists are and sort of what they believe, and we met their weird leader, Glebhelm, and the concept of his 5 hybrid dog kids and they're on leashes is just really cool visually. So I really enjoyed that. We had a big badass battle at the militia headquarters with these animal cultists and Jepperd and all the militia soldiers, and that was immense fun. And I loved the interaction between Jepperd and Abbott and that whole fight going down. And when we learned that Jepperd's kid Buddy is still alive, that weird horse kid is Jepperd's, and that really upped the stakes and was a good reveal. And I liked how we ended this volume, how Jepperd is reunited with Gus, and now we kind of have a group of survivors that are going to have to go on this mission together. So that really sets stuff up nicely for future volumes. So yeah, this was a really good action-packed volume, and I had a good time with it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. I'm taking a few weeks off, but I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do after that. I will most likely return, but we shall see. But I will hopefully see you all again in the future.